Today we're over at Springs Pond in St. George and going to try something different. Going to do some catfishing over here. I've been here before during the bass spawn and caught some bass, but during this time of the year I think it's pretty hard to catch any of the bass. It's possible, but just a lot harder. So haven't caught any catfish out of this pond yet, haven't tried, so going to try that today. A lot of vegetation in here, but I don't see any bluegills or any kind of forage type fish, so that's kind of odd. Of course they could be hiding down inside of there. There is a lot of places that they can hide. But that's not what we're here for, just looking at this and sharing what it looks like. This is probably the clearest I've seen this pond. I haven't been here during the summer, but with all the grass it's taken away quite a bit of the mud and silt from the water. It's interesting because now I can see where the bass were hiding and bedding, which is all of these rocks right along here. You can see that there's a few little fish, so always kind of good to scout out places sometimes, even if you're not going to catch anything there. It just gives you a different insight, especially if the water clears up. Well, I'm going to try from over here. Decided not to do that little point that's right there. Reason why I'm picking here is there's less weeds. Cover seems to be a lot lower in the water, and there's some moving water potentially from that drain, and I've seen some little fish in here, so probably a better opportunity for fishing today, but can always try moving. Going to keep this as a short day though. Well, I forgot my bread for the catfishing, so I've decided well, what is that? A lot of weeds in here. This is incredible. Well, I decided I'm just going to try to make a few casts just in case I can catch something, but considering almost instantaneously this got stuck in the weeds, there is no way to be able to fish this other than very shallow baits, which I brought with me, but thought I would try this out. That's what we're fishing with. This is a giant buzzbait, or at least a long trailer. Practicing my left-handed cast again. Nice situation for it. A brown patch all the way over here, then it turns clear. I wonder why. More likely to get them as it crosses between the muddy area and the clear area, but I don't have a good casting lane for that. Maybe I do. Of course, right now I'm assuming that they are very active, which is why I'm using this. Let's go back to that weeded area and see if maybe we can get something to come up from under those weeds. I know there's bass in here. I have caught them. Never caught them during the summertime, but haven't really tried either. This is actually a really hard time of the year. Could be further out, more than likely further out. But everywhere in this pond is a lot of weeds poking out or just under the surface, probably about 2 feet. Had a little bluegill chase this grasshopper, or it was a big bluegill actually. So that's a good sign. There he is again, and he left it this time. Probably too big for him, but now we know. If a bluegill that size is willing to go after this, then should be able to get a bass off of this too. I'll make a few more casts and then maybe switch up. So he's kind of where I thought. He came right out of that grass. There's another fish. Can't really tell what it is. Looks like a small bass, but doesn't act like one. Small bass would have left completely, whereas the bluegills, being more aggressive, will just sit there. So definitely bluegills just sitting close to the weed line. There's a little bluegill again. Actually, that really might be a little bass. And there's a few of them. We'll try coming back around with a beetle spin and see if we can't catch what it is. I'm thinking it's a bass because they look a little long, but it's so muddy it's hard to really tell if I'm just looking at their back or if that's really, if they're really just that skinny, being a bass. Switch over to that. It's, I think, a 1/8 ounce beetle spin, or technically this is a H&H Cajun spin, I think. All the same. Let's see where we're. I think it was a little further up. Hopefully they've calmed down and they're more aggressive again. There we go. Something splashed, so let's find out what it is. So it's very muddy over here. It's consistency of chocolate, and the only way that they're going to be able to find this is a nice slow retrieve. And hopefully the little blades on there, they can feel the vibrations from it. And they should be able to chase it doing that. The question is it too small? Not sure this is gonna catch anything. If I were gonna catch something, it would have been by now. So I think I'm gonna go back to checking with those small guys. Likewise, there's no telling what could have made that bluegill hit the surface. It could have just been spooked by something. It didn't have to be a bass. Well, there was a little bluegill that hit it. see if I can trick it into getting it again. I'm guessing it was a bluegill. It was about the... If it was a bass, it would have hit it a lot harder. There it is. Oh, it is a bluegill. It's a good sized bluegill, but not the species I was looking for. But you can see there are bluegills in here. Disappointing. Disappointing that it wasn't a bass, even a small bass. But at least I know they have good population of bluegills in here. Bass will hit this, at least the small to medium size, about 13 to 16 ounces. Especially if it is moved really slow. Since I can't see how tall the weeds are over there, I don't know if you could see it in the reflection of the water, but I'm running this spinnerbait where it's making little vibrations off the top of the water, at least until I can finally see where it is with the grass line, and then I'll slow it down to let it get in front of the grass. That bluegill came up from the grass, it didn't come from the edge. Of course, I'm gonna have to try to come out here again and try to catch my catfish. Forgot my bread, which I was going to use as bait. Well, this was supposed to be a short trip, so going to pack my stuff and work my way around to the other side, slowly fishing it. And if we catch something, we do. If not, that's all right too. Can just barely see little clumps of weeds in here. So I'm just trying to pass right by them. It's not a lot, just a few. But when the pond is void of any real structure for bass, then weeds becomes the next best one. There's this little rock point right here, and we just buzz right by it. Nothing. Do a second shot from the other side. There's a weed also out there, so we'll cast it far and cover both. All right, and let's get this rock over here. I'm casting way past them as much as I can. This side's really dirty, so it's like it is during the springtime. Oh yes, look at that. And I got my bass. Here he is. So, the technique works, looking for these spots next to the grass. It's hard as heck. Oh, got another! I think we found a little school of bass. That was definitely a bass. I saw his mouth. Try that off a little bit to the side. That one came up for it, so that's good. That's the first time I've caught a bass from this side. Of course, usually it's during the spawn. Try it one more time. Let's see if we can get right down between these weeds. They kind of run this way. Well, that was two. Okay, I can see quite a few weed areas. This is going to be tough because I'm going to have to run this really high. Yep, see, still caught some weed. Okay, right between those weed islands.